Why are all the students at these colleges so radicalized? Who is responsible? You might want to think about that founder of BLM. I mean, trained by the communists, and easily she can easily in, influence young people. That's what she said. And I'll tell you what, yeah, the world's getting stupid. Right now, it is getting stupid, stupid, stupid.
Calling for the DOJ to investigate pro-Palestine movements on college campuses to investigate who is funding them. As pro-Palestinian groups continue to gain footholds on college campuses, where is the line when it comes to calls for violence? To discuss, we have Cherise Trump, the executive director of Speech First. Cherise Trump, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cherise, from your vantage point, what do the tensions look like between pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian student groups on college campuses?
There have always been a combination of both on college campuses. However, the ones that really always wanted to censor speech or compel speech tended to be the pro-Palestinian groups. We've seen a long history of this on campuses with students advocating for the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel. And we've seen them actually attempt to compel even Jewish organizations to participate in this movement or lose club funding when these groups do gain control of the student government associations. That was just a couple years ago. We saw this at Pomona College and a number of schools across the country. So there has been a more outspoken version, ones who want to demand more from the other group, and we've seen that pretty much one-sidedly on the campuses.
So how would you say student groups have been reacting to the unfolding Israel-Hamas war on some of these United States college campuses?
Yeah, well, I'll say in knowing that there are a lot of pro-Palestinian groups, I'm not surprised that students are coming out saying that they stand on the side of Palestine. What surprises me the most is that they actually would defend the actions of Hamas and say whatever means necessary for decolonization after seeing the videos and the various footages of the atrocities that have been committed against the Israeli people, against innocent civilians. And just this is an obvious terrorist attack on the Israeli people, and the fact that there would be so much denial, so much cognitive dissonance on the campuses, I think is really truly appalling. And what you saw at Harvard Law School, where you had over 31 organizations who sided on the side of Palestine in this and the side of Hamas and defended their actions, you've seen this across the country now at Columbia. I think over 20 or 30 different colleges now have groups that have signed these letters supporting Hamas as martyrs and saying that they died for a good cause. You see flyers for events where there's imagery of hang gliders coming in over protests in favor of Palestine. The Palestinians are not known for their habitual hobby of hang gliding or paragliding. So obviously this is in direct reference to the attacks on the music festival where over 260 civilians were killed and gunned down. So it is disappointing and appalling that we have not seen any really decent reaction from the university leadership at these campuses where these students have signed these types of letters.
So what is to be done when First Amendment rights ultimately lead to violence or hate speech? Who needs to get involved? Who needs to step in? Or does anybody?
Yeah, well, the irony here is that these far-left groups are typically the ones that say speech is violence. They're the ones trying to shut down pretty much any speech or idea that they disagree with and saying that it is violence. But when they themselves actually call for literal violence, they believe that it's their free speech rights to make those calls. And that is what the DEI administrators have been doing on campuses. There's videos at University of Washington of DEI administrators defending a pro-Hamas rally where they're calling for the killing of Jews. And the DEI administrators are defending their right to free speech as Jewish students are crying, talking about the fact that these students want to eliminate them from the face of the earth. So this is really the disconnect here when it comes to understanding the difference between protected speech and actually calling for violence. And this is what administrators it's not difficult for them to figure out how to walk this line properly. It's because they are afraid of the woke mob, and it is why they are tiptoeing so much and beating around the bush.
Yep.
Patrice, lastly, how are lawmakers, other leaders and politicians addressing the distinction in your eyes between Hamas's actions and subconsciously giving them cover as they use the Palestinian people as shields?
Yeah, well, this is what ends up happening if you believe that the ends justify the means. The Hamas militants and terrorists definitely have stated that they see anyone who dies for their cause as a martyr who will be rewarded in the afterlife. So it should be no surprise to us when we see jihadists
I
put
know your
civilians
rewards
in
that
the
are
line of
coming.
danger, in the line of fire, in order to defend themselves, because they again have convinced themselves that this is all in the means to the end that they are seeking. This is all in good nature for themselves. And one thing you see that they actually have their headquarters in underground below a hospital. That's intentional, so the Israeli military will not strike them directly. This should not be a complicated question of who the bad guy is here, but universities, administrators, far left radicals seem to be making it into a more complex question than it is in order to further their own political agendas.
Cherise Trump, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your perspective.
Thank you for having me.
We spoke with Liba Nessis. She's a Harvard School graduate, an entertainment and political writer for The Jewish Voice and Look Online. Liba Nessis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, Liba. Why do you think that so many, I guess you would say, normally outspoken celebrities in Hollywood have remained silent on the recent Hamas terror attacks in Israel?
I think that they're afraid of being canceled. They're afraid of being threatened, their lives being threatened. They're afraid of losing their liberal Hollywood connections. They're afraid that they're going to lose Instagram followers, or paychecks will dry up, or they'll stop to being influences in Hollywood. They're afraid they're going to be boycotted. And the general consensus is always to take a liberal stance in Hollywood.
Traditionally, liberalism is, very outspoken on atrocities and crimes. So how do you think this narrative has kind of shifted and been influenced over the years? And does political correctness, I guess you would say, have an influence here?
I think that they're confusing the oppressors, who are the Palestinians or Hamas, with the victims, who are the Israelis. They think that the Palestinians and Hamas are the victims, and they've changed the whole narrative. So even after a massive carnage where people are beheaded and there's infanticide and rape, causes that people like Angelina Jolie takes up for refugees, they're silent in this situation. And you have someone like Mark Ruffalo, who constantly speaks out against Israel, and in this situation said he's neutral, he's not taking sides, and he feels bad about the besiegement and bombardment of Gaza. Their whole narrative is to present Israel as the oppressor instead of as the victim. And this penetrates throughout Hollywood. Steven Spielberg hasn't even said a word about this.
Yep.
Someone who's who's produced a movie about the Shoah and about genocide has not come out. An avid Jewish supporter who received the Genesis Prize in 2021 has not said a word about this. It's unfathomable. It's literally, the pressure in Hollywood to be liberal is so great that it doesn't matter what happens. They will not speak out.
We
Bunch
saw
of chicken shits.
the White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre unequivocally state that there are not two sides when it comes to this issue. Yet you do see other mainstream media networks airing people that have the other side. Where is the, I guess, balance? Is there a balance between free speech, objective journalism, and, I guess, condoning terrorism?
Well, I think in this case, when you have such a carnage like this, you don't present an opposing side. It's just like when the Holocaust happened, nobody said, well, the Germans, this happened with the Germans. This is so clear cut to walk into villages with civilians and just slaughter them that there shouldn't be two sides. And then you have Elon Musk, who has X Twitter X, letting Khamenei, the head of the supreme leader of Iran, use Twitter to galvanize support for terrorism, to say, I've never seen the Palestinians in 80 years so encouraged. I've never seen them so alive and encouraged. People are using social media to garner support for terrorism, and it's not being stopped. There's such a thing as free speech, and there's such a thing as inciting violence and carnage and slaughter, and that's what's going on now. Social media is being used to do that, and it's not being halted, which is outrageous, to give these people a platform. You have this girl, Maya Khalifa, who is a big porn star on Twitter, and she said, can Hamas please move their camera horizontally so I could see the kidnappings and killings clearer? And since she said that, her Twitter following went up millions. And now she has a bigger voice than ever before, a greater voice than ever before. So, freedom of expression is definitely a double-edged sword. And when it comes to carnage and slaughter, you have to, or encouraging people to commit jihad, you really have to limit it. I mean, there's lives on the line.
That plea went out earlier this week, and in that time, people here in Georgia have commented back with any knowledge they have, many aware these desperate exits can be expensive.
If you don't have the financial means, some families are able to find the funds to spend upwards of $30,000 to catch a flight, right? There are flights that are going to Jordan, Turkey, and you go there, and from there, you go to Europe and then back to America.
State Representative Longtran, who represents parts of Dunwoody and Doraville, is among those who commented to help.
We'll send you out information to get to your family and friends, or if you're over there watching this, there's a form that you fill out, and that tells us where you're at and how we can get to you and contact you to keep you updated with everything that's going on and how we're going to get you home safely.
The situation is fluid, with major updates from all government levels.
Thankfully, now that the State Department is chartering flights back home, that will be an easier process for those who do not have the means.
Last Saturday, Hamas hit Israel with a surprise attack, killing more than 1,000 people. Friday, Israel told millions in the Gaza Strip to evacuate, fueling speculation the country might invade Hamas territory.
I have full faith that our government's going to get our Georgians home.
Alex Whitler, Fox 5 News.
All right, let's talk about the weather, shall we? It's kind of moist.
Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I have a clip here of Nancy Pelosi that you just gotta see. I'm making sure that it's put in one of these videos in case C-SPAN decides to scrub it or something, which they might. This is a very interesting little clip. Nancy Pelosi, once again, the gift that keeps giving to us Republicans, has given us the Democrat playbook right here. She tells us one of their tactics, what they do, how they like to smear everyone. So, pay attention, here it goes.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
So did you catch that? What she says is you start out with something that's a lie, and you throw it out there, and then the press picks up on it, and they write stories about it, and you say, see, it's written in the press, so it must be true. This is exactly what they did with Trump. They demonized him. It was all fake about the Russia collusion. This is what they did with Kavanaugh. It was all fake about these women coming and saying that he did these things. The last one was even ludicrous, that Swetnick one. This is the situation we're dealing with. This is how these people work. They worked with the press to make it seem like what they were saying was legitimate. They tell the lies. The press reports the lies as if they were truth. Truthification. They are trying to make fiction into truth. And that's what they do. So, I wanted you to see this. Please share this so people can see. Pelosi is telling us exactly their tactic. This is like a page right out of the Democratic playbook. This is what they do. Thanks for stopping by. See you later.
Take two? All right. Today at approximately 3 p.m., the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office in the area of Juliet Road looking for a murder suspect. Upon the murder suspect seeing the deputies, one round was fired towards the deputies. That suspect then fled into the wood line. The deputies sustained one. Yeah, I'm messing it all up. Sorry about that. All right. Ready? All right. I got you. All right. At approximately 3 p.m. today, the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office in the area of Juliet Road looking for a murder suspect. Upon the murder suspect seeing the deputies, shots were fired towards the deputy. The suspect then fled into the wood line. One deputy sustained minor injuries, was transported to a local area hospital. We're asking that the community stay away from Juliet Road and remain indoors if possible. The suspect is considered armed and dangerous. If anybody sees that suspect, we're asking you to call 911. The suspect's information is Demetrius Nichols, black male, 5'7", 155, with black, short, dread-like hair, and we will release any photographs or information that we have on that individual at a later time. Any questions?
Are you able to tell us what murder you guys are connected to?
Not at this time.
What about children in school buses in the area at the time?
At the time, no, ma'am.
Can you clarify, looking for the suspect, were you actively chasing him? Yeah.
Hello, I'm DeKalb County Sheriff Melody Maddox, and this call came out. Actually, we had the situation. I heard the sheriff call this an active scene, and that it is. Let's take a look now at what is happening here at Juliet Road and East Ponce de Leon Avenue. As we heard earlier, this was an officer-involved shooting. As they were looking, the deputies in DeKalb County spotted a murder suspect around 3 o'clock. They say when they tried to pursue that suspect, he opened fire on them. And I can tell you, there is quite a traffic backup in this area. When I pulled in on East Ponce de Leon Avenue, they actually stopped my car, and 2 deputies wanted to see if that suspect was inside my car. But we want to take a look now at some video that we shot earlier, which shows just the incredible police presence that is here. As I heard the sheriff say, whenever an officer is involved in a shooting, so many departments come together, and I am seeing ambulances and police cars from all kinds of jurisdictions, U.S. Marshals, Doraville Police. It is a huge police presence out here. But let's listen now to what the Sheriff's Department is saying happened today around 3 o'clock.
At approximately 3 p.m. today, the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office in the area of Juliet Road looking for a murder suspect. Upon the murder suspect seeing the deputies, shots were fired towards the deputy. The suspect then fled into the wood line. One deputy sustained minor injuries, was transported to a local area hospital. We're asking that the community stay away from Juliet Road and remain indoors if possible. The suspect is considered armed and dangerous. If anybody sees that suspect, we're asking you to call 911.
And this is the man that they are looking for, Demetrius Nicholas. He is a black male with black, short, dreadlock hair. The other thing we want to let people know is that the officer was treated and released. That officer was treated and released, so that is certainly good news. But there is an intense search and manhunt for that person, Demetrius Nicholas, who police say pulled the trigger. That is the very latest from the scene here at Juliet Road and East Ponce de Leon Avenue. Angelique Proctor, Fox 5 News.
Angelique, thanks so much. Well, deputies are yesterday afternoon.
30-year-old Jeffrey Frank Walker is still on the run after leading police on a chase by car and on foot. Fox 5's Kim Luffler joins us now from Bartow County. And Kim, how is that canine officer doing tonight?
Well, the good news is Canine Athos is recovering tonight and is expected to be okay, but deputies do still need the public's help to find the man they say shot and injured him.
Athos is doing very well. He's resting comfortably. Of course, he's on, pain meds and antibiotics.
Holly Cripps is part of an organization that provides first aid kits to canine officers. She has worked with Canine Athos since 2019 and got an update on his condition Friday from his handler.
He's trying to get some rest. I told him sleep. When Athos is sleeping, you sleep, like a newborn baby.
This all happened Thursday afternoon. Deputies say Jeffrey Walker of Rome had multiple outstanding family violence warrants in Floyd County, as well as a Cartersville Walmart from Wednesday. When deputies spotted his car and tried to pull him over, Walker took off. Witnesses say police rammed into the car, forcing it off the road near a truck stop just off of I-75 in Cartersville. Walker then ran into the woods on foot. When Canine Athos went to catch him, deputies say they heard shots and found Athos injured. Cripps says Athos's handler used their kit to keep him alive.
Just a simple $3 thing of vet wrap, and he was able to wrap that around the wounds, and that in turn applies pressure and stops any bleeding. And then he was transported very quickly, as you can imagine, to the vet's office.
She has over 3,400 kits with canine officers across the country, all with sponsors, so they're able to replenish the kits as soon as they're used. Cripps says she'll bring more items to Athos in the coming days.
You got to throw the high five back to the handler to remember to go grab this bag and do what they do. I mean, I can only give them a bag. They have to do the rest. So they're the heroes in this.
News that Athos is going to be okay. The search for Walker does continue tonight. If you have any information on where he may be, you're asked to contact the Bartow County Sheriff's Office. In Bartow County, Kim Luffler, Fox 5 News.
That plea went out earlier this week, and in that time, people here in Georgia have commented back with any knowledge they have, many aware these desperate exits can be expensive.
If you don't have the financial means, some families are able to find the funds to spend upwards of $30,000 to catch a flight, right? There are flights that are going to Jordan, Turkey, and you go there, and then from there, you go to Europe and then back to America.
State Representative Longtran, who represents parts of Dunwoody and Doraville, is among those who commented to help.
We'll send you out information to get to your family and friends, or if you're over there watching this, there's a form that you fill out, and that tells us where you're at and how we can get to you and contact you to keep you updated with everything that's going on and how we're going to get you home safely.
The situation is fluid, with major updates from all government levels.
Thankfully, now that the State Department is chartering flights back home, that will be an easier process for those who do not have the means.
Last Saturday, Hamas hit Israel with a surprise attack, killing more than 1,000 people. Friday, Israel told millions in the Gaza Strip to evacuate, fueling speculation the country might invade Hamas territory.
I have full faith that our government's going to get our Georgians home.
Alex Whitler, Fox 5 News.
All right, let's talk about the weather, shall we? It's kind of moist.